drlorneka.co.
Thank you for coming on. Hello, hello. All right, let me know where you're watching from tonight. We are going to want to thank you for joining. Hi, Catherine. Happy New Year. It is so good to see you on. Thank you so much. Happy New Year to everyone and also the Insta family. I am so excited tonight. We are going to be talking about anxiety and knowing the difference between anxiety and fatigue and knowing how to deal with them because the symptoms of being anxious and being tired versus fatigue, they can sometimes be interchangeable, but I'm going to be sharing a few tips to help you from a medical perspective and also a spiritual perspective because it is definitely, I think, still a taboo to discuss mental health challenges, but also what it means to be a person of faith and still struggle with that. So let me know where you are watching from. We're going to go ahead and get started shortly. If you haven't watched the last live, I will mention it or I will place it in the comments. But definitely you want to tag a few of your friends to make sure that they get on. We're going to get started in about 2 minutes. Thank you again. Let me know where you are watching from because I know there are different persons on tonight. All right, one more minute. Thank you. Thank you for joining. While we're waiting for a few more persons to get on, go ahead and share this broadcast. If you enjoyed the conversation and learned a lot from our previous conversation on a Thursday night touching on depression and sadness, you definitely are going to enjoy and also receive value from this as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. All right. So if this is your first time, I am Dr. Lorneka. I want to thank you for joining. I am a pharmacist and wellness coach to high achievers. Hi, Joanna. Thank you so much. I am a pharmacist, a transformational speaker, and I work with high achievers to help them redefine their success, redefine their work and their wellness. Now, I also want you to know that, especially in this era that we are in the climate that we are in, especially globally, wellness is no longer just defined as someone telling you to, lose some weight or someone telling you to, get on medications. Wellness is literally one of the prerequisites for anyone if you know that you have a calling and a purpose. Thank you, Amanda, for joining. A few weeks ago, I talked about how to identify. Okay, we have Haiti. Hello, Leslie. Bonsoir. We talked about a few weeks ago, we talked about the difference between sadness and depression. We talked about, just kind of recap before we go into this. Sadness is short term, depression is long term. Also, sometimes depression can be masked by other symptoms. Sometimes it can be you isolating yourself, right? It can be you not wanting to be around light. You're ignoring people. Your normal activity seems like it's an issue. You want to lay down. You want to sleep all day. You don't want to pick up the phone. Depression hurts. Sadness, again, as we said, it's short term. And so tonight, as we continue these conversations, we're on this series that I am talking. Hello, Jacqueline. Thank you so much for joining. We are talking about these different boxes. And so for the next few weeks, I am in this wellness box because there are three major boxes that I'm going to be dealing with. And so we're talking about what it looks like when you are fatigue and you're anxious at the same time. I look at different studies. Being the researcher that I am, I was looking at different studies. There was a study performed by the University of Toronto where they shared that out of all of the people who set goals at the beginning of the year, only 36% of those people actually still work on those goals beyond 3 weeks, right? Hello, Sierra. I want to say that again. After about 3 weeks, only 36% of people who continue to work on their goals. And one of my girl crushes, Catherine, she did an amazing teaching on how to not only just set goals, but I think the era that we are in, especially if you think you struggle with anxiety, you don't just want to set a bunch of goals. You don't just want to set a list to be in competition with anyone, right? You want to make sure that you are setting goals that are realistic and goals that will honestly not have you in competition with anybody, but they are realistic and they're going to get you to the space and place where you are and desire to be. Right. And so before I continue on, let me share the difference because there is a difference between being tired and being fatigued. And I'm also, as a wordsman, I'm a teacher by heart. I'm going to talk about what is anxiety. right? Let me know if any of this is helping you so far. Please share this broadcast out. We want to help as many people as possible, especially now during the winter months when mental health, schizophrenia, depression, suicidal thoughts seem to challenge most people around this time, as I shared on the last live when I talked about depression. Now, as it relates to being fatigued, now when you're tired again, when you're tired, it's you're going to work, or for some of you, if you're not like me, you're working remotely or you're having to go out in the fields. You have to leave your house and go. But when you are tired, that tiredness can be remedied by just getting sleep. It is something that you can do within your nature, within your faculties, your memory. Sometimes it's trying to get enough sleep. It's possibly taking vitamins, right? And you notice that you feel better the next day. That is someone who is tired. Now, fatigue. The difference between you being fatigued and tired, fatigue is not easily remedied. Someone write that in the comments. Right? When you are tired, it is remedied within 24 to 72 hours. It is getting some sleep. It is drinking some water. But when you are fatigued, it seems like it's a burden. It's a struggle. Your body begins to hurt. Your energy feels really, really low. And it's not just for 1 day or 2 days. This fatigue or this feeling that you have, it's for weeks and weeks, and you're trying to shake it. You've changed your diet, but there are so many things that are going on, and that is a symptom that you may possibly be fatigued versus someone who is actually tired. Hello, Joy. Thank you for joining. Right? Is any of this helping you all so far? Because if we're going to accomplish our goals, if we're going to be who God has called us to be, we got to be practical and we got to prioritize our wellness. Wellness and your mindset can no longer just be something that you wait until you go to the doctor's office to take care of. And actually, one of the things that I have my clients actually doing, especially at the beginning of the year and even at the end of the year, but at the beginning of the year, all of my clients, I make sure, and one of the things that their assignment is to set up appointments, medical appointments, whether that's telepharmacy, whether that's you setting up virtual appointments with your doctor. But you all, especially if you are a woman, especially if you are a childbearing age, again, I'm going to share some things to help you with the fatigue, but you need to know your levels. You need to know your levels. You need to know how is your heart function. You need to know what is your blood sugar, right? All of this adds on to anxiety. And anxiety is external factors affecting the normal functions of your body. Someone write that in the comments. The definition is simple. The definition of anxiety. The simple definition is external factors impeding on the normal functions of your organs. And here are a few of the organs that are affected by anxiety. Your heart. Anxiety affects your heart. Anxiety affects specifically and mostly your lungs. So your left and your right lungs. Anxiety. So the moment you are fearful, the moment you are struggling, the moment you receive bad news, right? The moment you find out that, someone in your family or immediate family member lost a loved one, or you get a phone call, right? And, you found out that, your job is on the line or something happened with your child. The first two organs that are affected are your lungs and your mind, your brain cells, right? Because what happens, it sends a signal to your central nervous system that something is off and you are trying to control it. And so when you and I don't manage anxiety, when you and I don't take the time to pause, right? I'm going to share the 4 tips, the acronym that's going to be very simple. When you and I don't manage the situations that happen day to day, that's what creates the anxiety. And now on top of you being anxious about everything, anxious about communication, anxious about your job, anxious about, your marriage, anxious about that family member, that's constantly bombarding you. When you're anxious about your day-to-day normal activities, that impedes and that adds on to the fatigue that you may be experiencing. All right. Let me know that any of this, please share this broadcast out. That is the difference. So if you're just joining, we're talking about the difference between being tired versus fatigue and how to know when it is time for you to seek help because what you have been doing isn't enough. And so again, you can go back on my timeline. We talked about depression and sadness. And so now tonight, I'm going to share some tips with you on how you can begin to remedy and cure fatigue and anxiety. So the first thing that I want you to recognize is your importance and the need for you to pause, right? The need for you to pause. So many of us, when we hear bad news, or when you experience a breakup, or you're going through a divorce, or something's going on with your child, it's a normal reaction for your body to go into a flight, right? A flight mechanism, a flight response is what your body goes into. But what I want you to begin to do is letter P, pause and practice mindfulness, right? That's the first thing that I want you to do. Whenever you receive bad news, or there's something, or you submitted an application and you can't sleep, you can't eat, it's almost like you're just waiting, right? The waiting controls you. The first thing I want you to do is pause. Literally. Just pause. You get a phone call and you don't like the phone call. I want you to pause, because what you're doing is you are preventing yourself from reacting, and you are learning to give a response. Let me know if any of this is helping you so far, right? That is the first thing I want you to do as it relates to managing fatigue and anxiety. So again, we talked about it. If you just joined, there are ways, there are physicians, who are doing virtual sessions, and they are meeting their clients. I know everyone is not open. I know my physician is, but again, you need to know your levels. You need to know how is your heart functioning. You need to know the function of your status of your kidneys, because again, all of this, if you're tired, right? You're not taking vitamins, right? I went to get my hair washed today, my appointment, and I was sharing with my hairstylist because she's doing so much. There's this notion, and I know that most people that don't know this, especially if you are a woman, you do not have to be pregnant, or you do not have to be in the process of trying to conceive in order to take prenatal vitamins. Now, let me just give a little history. The purpose of taking a vitamin is when you are not able, or you are unable to get the nutrients from your food and your lifestyle. That is the sole purpose of vitamins. So I know a lot of people, sometimes they're like, well, why are you taking prenatal vitamins? I've been taking prenatal vitamins for over 5 years now. They help with your iron. The difference between prenatal vitamins and just a regular vitamin is that it has double the iron. It helps with your hair, skin, and nails. So if that's something, if you are a woman and you're struggling with, I would definitely recommend taking prenatal vitamins if you know your diet or your lifestyle is a little bit off, especially if you are tired, right? Please continue to share and tag someone who you definitely know is going to can use this information. So that is the first thing, knowing your levels, right? Because anxiety can sometimes be the fact that we are not confronting and addressing things. So letter P. P stands for pause. Also, the second P in the PLTA acronym that I've created for tonight, the second P is practicing mindfulness, right? Practicing mindfulness. So that is the second thing that I want you all to do. Mindfulness is just taking a moment to think about what you're thinking about. Think about that conversation that you just had, right? Thinking about what your lover or your mate or your child just said to you. I want you to pause and process and think about what your boss said, right? Whatever it is, the people in your community is usually, and I talked about this last week Sunday on Instagram, how most of the anxiety and the things that we experience come directly from the people that's closest to us. So that's your family members, that's your friends, that's your spouse, that's your colleagues, right? Strangers don't usually unravel our emotions. It is the people that is closest to us. So when you don't know and learn how to address your emotions with the people around you, anxiety can get the best of you, right? Let me know if any of this is helping. Anxiety can get the best of you. And so again, pause when you receive bad news, right? When a family member or a friend is trying to make their emergency your emergency, I want you to pause and take a moment. Ask yourself, can you afford to add anything onto your schedule? Can you afford to add anything onto your expenses? Can you afford to add anything onto your emotions in this season? right? What is God calling you to do? And if he's called you to do something, whatever that goal is, whether that's share your story, write a book, start a business, apply for a new job. Maybe he wants you to go back to school. Maybe he wants you to start, your nonprofit. Whatever that is, anxiety, you cannot continue to ignore anxiety and fatigue and weariness, because you won't be able to be a redefined version of yourself, right? And the Bible is very clear. As a woman of faith, God says that he will never give us more than we can bear. So when it comes to being fatigued and anxious, you have to begin to ask yourself, as a high achiever, you have to begin to ask yourself, as a woman or a man, because I know there are men watching, you have to ask yourself, what are you currently carrying in your life that God did not ask you to carry? I'm going to pause on that. Think about that question. If the word of God, if God says that he will never give you and I anything more, any more than we can bear, then begin to ask yourself, who are you carrying? What issue? Yes, Felicia, exactly. Be anxious for nothing. So if you are anxious, could it just be that you are carrying too much weight in this season, right? Could it be that you are carrying too much weight? Are you trying to carry your entire household as a woman or a man? Are you afraid of asking for help? That can be adding on to why you are feeling anxious and fatigued, right? You wake up, you change your diet, you're still struggling. Your levels, your blood levels may be low. Your vitamin D levels may be low. Your heart, your blood pressure may be elevated, right? And I want to dispel this myth that just because, you're older, or your 50s and your 60s, we're expecting our parents to have things like blood pressure monitors and thermometers and things like that in our home. We all need to take care of our health, right? Your health is not a separate from your assignment. Your assignment is dependent upon how well you are, mind, body, and soul. So, number one, pausing, practicing mindfulness. Number two, I know y'all ain't gonna like this one, right? Number two, as it relates to managing fatigue and anxiety, you are going to have to set limits on screen time. You're going to have to set limits when you are on your cell phone, including your children. And I also want you continue to share this out. I also want you all to know, listen, adults, we are not the only ones being affected by this global pandemic. Our children need to not be neglected. So if you are a parent watching this, if you are a mentor, or if you have children, nieces and nephews, right? Make sure that you check in with them. We continuously say, especially in the Western culture, children have nothing to be stressed out about. As a matter of fact, children and teenagers are the most vulnerable people, right? Group of people who are struggling with anxiety. We continuously say that they have nothing to be stressed about, but the truth is this pandemic is affecting everyone. It's affecting our social development, right? So I want you to begin to set limits on screen time when you wake up in the morning, right? How are you starting your day, right? How are you starting your day? One of the things that I would recommend, which is what I do, the first thing I do is I make sure that I keep a glass or a bottle of water next to me in the morning, so that I am starting my day with a glass of room temperature, not cold, room temperature water, and also breathing, just taking. And I'm going to demonstrate, because I know that some of you don't really know how to take deep breaths. Those 5 to 10 seconds can literally help you manage anxiety. So just follow along with me if you can, or you'll be able to go back and watch the video. But anxiety, you can literally start your day by just taking a deep breath. You inhale through your nose, right? Slowly exhaling through your mouth. And so you can do that as long as you want, but the moment you feel, the moment your body needs to be reset, the moment you get bad news, the moment you're waiting on something, the moment you're waiting on a phone call, and you feel like your body is trying to respond and control you, I want you to take those deep breaths. Again, inhaling through your nose, closing your eyes, and focusing on your breath. And when you exhale, exhale through your mouth, I want you to feel the air. Feel the air that you are releasing, and don't force it. Because when you do that, you are resetting your blood cells, right? Let me know if any of this is helping you. You are resetting your blood cells, right? So we said one, pause, right? Pause when you receive news or a phone call or a text message that you believe is going to be very difficult for you to deal with right now. Just take a moment. Can you respond to a message or a phone call in 24 hours versus trying to respond to that loved one or that family member or that friend immediately that you know that somehow when you talk to them, they make you anxious. They make you nervous. It's an argument. It's a negative conversation. It's a family member that's always calling to gossip, right? Those are some things that you can begin to manage and say, you know what? I don't want to do this today. I just don't have the emotional bandwidth to do it, right? Limit your screen time. Going outside, if you're, depending on what part of the world you're in, going outside to get some fresh air. Open the windows if you can. One of the things, okay, that's awesome, Melody. I'm so glad. Especially for those of you who are entrepreneurs and you work remotely or you work from home. Listen, I get that your computer is how you make money, but please let this be the year where you begin to manage and invest in your mindset and your wellness. You can no longer just be chasing money and making sure that you go after clients and make all this money and gain followers while neglecting your body. Because at the end of the day, right, the Bible says, what does it profit a man or a woman to gain the whole world and lose their soul, lose your sanity? If your business is causing you to not be able to sleep, you need to begin to think about the structure and the model of your business. Right? Your business should not be creating chaos. You should not be up all hours of the night, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, talking to people just to try to get money. Right? That's affecting your sleep. That's affecting your creativity. Limit your screen time, right? Going outside, drinking water, right? Stretching, teaching your children, your spouse, your lover, whoever you live with in your immediate household, doing things together, having tea, right? Having a little bit of coffee, but making sure that you take the time for your mind to be well before the rest of the world has access to you. Number 3, as it relates to managing fatigue and anxiety, talk. And I'm going to break this down. Tell, talk, and process your emotions and what's making you tired. Right? So I gave some examples. If this is your first time hearing me, again, I am Dr. Lorneka, pharmacist, transformational speaker to high achievers, redefining wellness. And again, one of the stories that really helped me was a red flag of experiencing my first anxiety, what I thought was a back pain, but started off an anxiety attack, which was masked by back pain. So if you are a person, you are constantly medicating yourself and you're like, oh, Dr. Lorneka, I'll go next week. I'll go to the doctor next month. You cannot continue to ignore yourself. You've got to put your emotions and your wellness at play, right? Talking to someone who is unbiased. Many of you, I know some of you, it is difficult to talk to family members. It is difficult to talk to your best friend or your spouse because the anxiety is connected to those people sometimes, or maybe it just may be the time for you to invest in someone outside of your home. Right? I shared it earlier today on social media talking about in the Western culture, in the Black community, we've learned and adopted this statement, what happens in this house stays in this house. But for many of you, what has happened in your home as a child, as a teenager, is affecting your progress. It's affecting how you show up at work, right? It's affecting how you show up with your friendships. That molestation, the rape, the business that failed, the degree that you were never able to accomplish because you had children, right? The relationship that never worked out. All of that causes emotional fatigue. You're weary. You're dragging out of bed. You can't seem to complete your goals. You start something, but you're never able to finish it. All of that goes back to unresolved issues, right? All of that goes back to unresolved issues. So talking to someone, right? And that someone can be a coach. That someone can be a psychologist and a psychiatrist. Now, let me pause here because I need to give this difference. There is a difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist, right? Does anyone know what is the difference between a psychologist and a psychiatrist? If you do, put it in the comments. If you want to know and you say, if you want to know what is the difference, put yes in the comments. Okay, good. I am so happy. So the difference between a psychologist addresses your issues, but a psychiatrist addresses your issues, and they also diagnose and also can prescribe medications. So if you have really bad anxiety or you're depressed, or you feel like you're struggling with a bipolar disorder, or maybe you feel like you're suffering with things like ADHD, a psychiatrist will be able to prescribe. But a psychologist, when you are searching for someone, a psychologist cannot prescribe, right? So that is the difference. So again, going back to number 3, maybe this is the year that I challenge you as your coach, right? I challenge you to begin to invest in yourself on a different level. I'm not talking about your hair. I'm not talking about another trip. You may need to, and many of us, we have house fatigue and we want to travel, but sometimes it literally takes you and I talking to someone outside of our comfort zone. Right? And so me working as a mindset and wellness coach, that is what I do for women. And so again, talking to someone about your issues, right? Why you're not able to see certain successes in your business, why you are afraid of going after that promotion on your job, the struggle in your marriage, your money, all of these things. Talking to someone who is unbiased can help you manage your anxiety, right? Someone who doesn't know about your situation. Someone who is not in your household, someone who's not going to judge you, but they are going to give you unbiased, unfiltered information, okay, and recommendations. Last but not least, addressing to adjust. Now, also, I know that some of you may be struggling with this. It is okay, and I need to say this. I've got to say this. It is okay to be a person of faith, or to be a Christian or a believer and feel like you need to take medications for a short period of time. Let me say that again. Share this broadcast. It is a-okay. God is not going to shun you or punish you or look down on you if you feel like you need to supplement your conditions and your normal activity with medications. But this is what I want to share with you all. If you feel, you say, Dr. Lorneka, I think I do need medications. I feel like I do need to some added help, or I need to supplement how I feel because I'm just really out of control. Here's what I want you all to do. The next time that you go to your doctor's appointment, before you get prescribed medication, before you end up on any antidepressants or anxiety medications or even weight loss medications to help you get some stability, I want you to make sure to ask your provider. I want you to ask your doctor. Don't be afraid, right? We are there. We are there to help you. But if you are afraid to have open dialogue with your doctor, then you need to find a new provider. But I want you to make sure, ask your physician and let them know, whoever is prescribing you medications, let them know that you desire to not be on these medications for the rest of your life. That is the key, right? That is the key. You want to get the medication, but you do not want to allow the medications. You don't want to become dependent on them, because many of the medications, sometimes if you're not careful, they can rebound. They can make your symptoms worse than they are better. So make sure that your physician gives you a plan. Don't let someone treat you like a fast food restaurant when it comes to your health, especially if you are paying a physician or a provider. Make sure that you are getting a plan that's going to help you get well and not just push you out of their office. That goes for anyone. Whatever condition you have, losing weight, your sex drive is low, managing anxiety, depression, whatever it is, ask people to let you know. Ask them to be accountable. Make sure that they are practicing and make sure they have your interests at heart. Okay? So for those of you who are just joining, again, when it comes to anxiety, before we even get back to the tips, as I summarize, we talked about getting labs done, recognizing your vitamin D levels. If you are constantly tired, maybe it is time for you to take prenatal vitamins. Maybe it is time for you to invest in vitamins. Or you may say, well, Dr. Lorneka, I've been on the same vitamins for the last 10 years. As a medical expert, I will definitely highly recommend that it is time for you to change your vitamins. Right? If you are not getting 3 to 4 servings of fruits and vegetables, you're not drinking enough water, you are not sleeping, it is time for you to change your regimen. I talked about this with a group of high achievers and entrepreneurs a few months ago, how, every few years your skin regimen change, right? How you sleep, what you sleep in, right? If you're eating the same things, if you are using the same facial wash that you were using 10 years ago, maybe it's time for you to change that, because your skin and your body, the needs change over the years. What you needed in your 20s, you need twice as that in your 30s and 40s and 50s, especially if you've had children. Right? So what are your vitamin D levels? So number one, we said when it comes to managing fatigue and anxiety, making sure that you are pausing when you get a phone call, when you get an email that's not sitting right well with you, when you get rejected, right? All of those things are very, very important. Practicing mindfulness, breathing, delaying a phone call. Can you answer that text message tomorrow? Can you answer that email tomorrow? Unless it is something that, it is affecting the way you feel and you need to think and sleep on it, begin to do that. Limit your screen time. Cell phones, computers, right? Taking the time to go outside, open the windows, fresh air. I'm from the Bahamas, so I'm always an island girl. I love going outside. I am okay missing the gym because I love working outside. I love jogging. I love being able to throw on, my Apple AirPods and just go out and go jog and come back and feel all rejuvenated, right? We also talk about investing in a mindset and a wellness coach, investing in seeing a therapist or a psychologist, right? Someone outside of your household, your family member. Maybe your husband may not be the best person to talk about that issue that happened to you when you were little, right? Or you were a teenager. Maybe it is time for you to hire someone, right? You feel free to send me an inbox or a DM and I would be more than happy to give you a consultation. It is time for you to invest in your mindset. It is time for you to take your wellness seriously, because if you don't take care of yourself, nobody else will. Right? Last but not least, we're talking address to adjust, right? It's okay to need medications. Okay. Also, check out the reviews of the medical providers that you are looking into. Look into a therapist, look into a coach, right? Look into someone who is going to walk you through those issues. If you are an entrepreneur, or if you are, working a 9 to 5 and you wear a lot of hats, you're a single parent, there's a lot of stress that comes along with wearing all those hats. And so setting boundaries, learning how to say no. And I know a lot of women struggle with that, right? Learning how to say no. If you feel like you say no, you feel like, people are going to see you differently. If you say yes to everyone and everything, you're going to wear yourself out and you're always going to be fatigued. So I want to thank you all for joining. If any of this was helpful for you and you say, Dr. Lorneka, I would love to talk to you about, what your challenges are, your goals and your mindset, feel free to inbox me or visit drlorneka.co to connect with me. And I would be more than happy to give you a consultation. Thank you so much for joining.